2 minutes after 8. You're here on the AM show. It's a holiday. Make every day a holiday. We will still love it. Okay, not exactly. But Ghana's film industry is largely described these days as failing. So what is not working? What has worked for us in the past? And what kind of direction should we be taking? That's the conversation that's coming up next. My guests, one of my guests seated, the other one is just on standby. So we'll just take a pause, we'll come back, and then I'll introduce my guests. We'll get the conversation going. But I've got a question for you. Text the answer via regular SMS. What's the name of the last Ghanaian movie that you watched? What's the title of that? And if you no longer watch Ghanaian movies, why? Let me know. Send me an SMS. We'll take a quick pause. We'll come back. Properly seated, Socrate Sarfo is Director of Creative Arts, responsible for program and projects at the National Commission on Culture. Good morning to you. Thank you for being here. I know what it took to be here, so I'm grateful. Aseye Tamaklo is a lecturer at NAFTI. You're also a freelance editor. So thank you for being here. But you do many other things. You've got a festival.
Yes, I'm the founder and director of Devo Women's Film Festival, which is an African women's film festival, or festival for women of African descent, and it's looking at all the women in the film chain. We've had entries from all over Africa. The festival itself will be in November, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd November. And I'm also the organizing secretary for the Ghana Academy of Film and Television Arts, GAFTA.
Fantastic. So you're the perfect person to have this conversation.
So the festival is just for women?
So we have 3 categories. We have films for women, we have films by women, and we have films for women by men. Because there are men who have also done stuff for women.
Yeah.
So
we've had entries.
That is not discrimination.
No.
But in case men decide to organize something for themselves, it will be called
whatever you want to call it.
Okay, so you know, I said at the beginning that anytime we're describing the Ghana film industry today, we say failing industry. I don't know whether you would agree or disagree with that, but describe to us at what the point where we are with our film industry. I'll start with you, Socrates.
Okay, I would say we're facing challenges, and it is so with every. Let me limit myself to the film industry. Every film industry in the world has gone through this phase before. Read the history of Hollywood. That is how come it got to a point we got United Artists, because some of the structures were not there, so artists came together and they formed their own production outfit called the United Artists. You go to India, they have the same problem. China, the same. And now we are here in Ghana. And it's not just Ghana, but even you go to Nigeria, they are going through the same phase now. So I think it's normal.
So how would you describe this phase?
Challenged.
In what ways?
You see, we all got into the industry by, I don't know how to describe this again, but personally, I think, and likewise other producers, we were not properly oriented into the industry. There was no structure to give us that orientation before we get into the industry. So we did things in a way that would not support the foundation. Entertainment business is such a strategic industry that if you don't organize it well, it will collapse. I will equate it to the telcos. For now, I'm telling you, if the government made a mistake and opened the floodgate and say we should have about 20 companies providing telephony, I'm telling you the industry will collapse.
Aseye, would you disagree the industry is challenged?
No, I won't disagree. And for that fact, I do not like to use the word failing. I think last week there was an article from someone called Obrimpo on City FM Online, and I did a write back that you can't call it failing. It is challenged. It has a few issues or a number of issues, but there are many histories to why we're where we are. For starters, in as much as we are coming from Nkrumah's Ghana, interestingly today is Yeah, and he was very ideological and took culture into a, to a certain level. We made a certain mistake in that era. After independence, we did not write, our cultural policy did not have a proper setup for film. And so we were challenged a long time ago.
Not just for film, for the creative arts industry.
Yeah, but since we're talking film, I'm sticking to film. Yeah, so there was already issues from the start, and we thought that we could fix. And I'm sure he didn't think he would go in 1966, so I'm sure they thought they could do something about it. But beyond then, like he said, every industry in the world has had a certain challenge and has been through a certain phase. The question is, how long do you want to stay there? And what do you want to do about it? It is not failing, because if it is failing, it wouldn't even exist. You know, we have structural issues, we have policy issues, of course we have some content issues. Some of the countries in Africa have tried. They have moved beyond film just for entertainment and for other means. But we have also moved from there. But how much have we gone forward, you know? And what should we do? But I will not say it's a failing industry. It is challenging, yes, but it's not failing.
So let me throw your question back at you. How far have we gone forward?
Also, before films, when we started this whole endeavor in this country, before just, you know, before independence, it was the English or the British who were, you know, in our film units. And then in post-independence, we're also trying to do things for ourselves. And then don't forget that we've been through eras of coups. And over time, things have changed. And certain self-interest, and I will drag the politicians in this time, have also marred our progress. And then there were times that nothing was happening. And then the major sale of GFIC, and then which it could have returned. But today, I don't know what all those radio stations are doing in that space again, because it was a certain part of our industry. Now, I think that over time, independent filmmakers have really tried to want to keep things going. And so we have made progress. There were times that films were being made, but the amount that was being, you know, yes, there's an issue about quantity and quality, but at least access. If you didn't have a certain status, you probably didn't have access to film. But now there's a certain, even though we still have issues with distribution, but at least if you walk around town and if you can afford to go to Silverbeds, at least you can see a Ghanaian film at least every month. So it is not such a terrible thing.
So it's not so bad after all.
No, it's not so bad after all.
But the way you've described the situation, is it the same also with the Chi movies?
Oh, that's a whole world on its own. It's almost, I don't want to even give it a whole genre, but for lack of a better word, you know, it's also, it didn't used to exist, but if you critically look at it, you can see that it rides on the back of Concert Party indirectly, but they've thrived. You see, there are times that we see certain films and we are not comfortable and we think they are not good enough. But if you do research and you watch a certain number of them, you'll be surprised at content. Technical challenges may be there, but there are some stories in there. But the other thing too is that filmmakers come from societies and they have their own realities. If my reality is witchcraft, that is what I'll give to you, because that's what I know. Even if you try to put filmmakers trying to put class and status on screen, be depending on where the filmmaker is coming from, I'm sure you bear me witness, they will represent it differently. Some will do it ostentatiously, some will try to, you know, find a certain balance, some will, so it's not.
So Socrate, maybe the same question to you. The way we describe the general Ghanaian film industry, would it be fair to give the same representation to the Chi movies as well? No,
because I side with what my sister just said, and I don't think we should go. She said it all. Yeah.
Okay, so what is working for them? I mean, can we copy anything from that side?
I think at a point they decide not to listen to the critics, because they had a huge following, silent majority, and there was this vociferous minority criticizing them So I know this. They decide that they are not going to even listen to them.
They're just going to produce
They are just
because
going to
they have a
produce.
market
Yes.
anyway.
Unfortunately for us as Ghanaians or as an industry, what we ought to do then, we didn't do to support them. What is that then? Education. We didn't give them the training they needed. By then, we just decided that let's ignore them. The training models that we also packaged did not suit them. So they also decided to be on their own. And that is one thing I have criticized and criticized and criticized and continue to criticize until we do the necessary changes in the industry. One, orientation. I told you at the beginning. When I came to the industry, there was no orientation. We were just shown that is how come somebody can write an article and say ever since auto mechanics, lotto forecasters and circumcisers start making films. Because instead of embracing us and give
but
us that.
But whose responsibility was that?
The structures that we had then, and I will put it on NAFTI. Gone are the days when NAFTI was an institution where we trained filmmakers.
They still do.
They train media people.
What's
Check
the difference?
Facts. They are not focused on film now. They are not focused on film. They are training media. You go there and you can do all sort of how do I put it, my sister?
So is that not more of expansion?
Can I come in?
Is that not
expansion?
More
No.
of I wanted
You see,
him to learn.
the moment you
Because
expand,
you're a lecturer there.
no. If you decide to expand, you lose focus.
Okay.
You understand?
So that's what has happened.
That's what has happened.
Okay.
Instead of training people, because in time past, you have people going to NAFTI who were filmmakers. They go there to upgrade. You get people from GBC, Ghana Films, and even you get recommendation before you get access to go to NAFTI. But today, you just finish, get any degree in maths or science, and you can go to NAFTI. When you finish, you don't have the passion for film. Gone are the days when the Ramesh Jais, call the names, they were there. Even first-year students were running from classroom to go on set and film. But today, even fourth-year students, you give them all the necessary support, and they won't even go to the set. They come on set and they want to go.
I say, is this a true reflection of your
Yes, that is. I am on the field and I'm telling you, this is the true reflection.
So
she's also in there.
That's a jump because at the time he started talking about when some people entered, there wasn't a certain orientation, and as if I can play back history, that's quite some time back, a few decades, maybe 2 decades. Yeah. And then the jump to now, so there's a certain disjoint that I want you to repair, because if you're saying that you blame it on NAFTI, and then we hop to the 21st century, because at the time that some people joined in, there was not the supposed orientation, and I want to use you as one of them. Yeah. That was in the 20th century, in the 90s. So if that jump, I wish we could bridge that jump. Then we come to the real issue of whether today's
how do we bridge it?
Situation is different.
You jumped it, so let's bridge it.
So is the situation the same today?
Yeah.
So in 1990 there was, because the Ramesh Jais and Co completed in the 1990s.
Yes.
So
and what happened to them? They were making films, and if you check around that era, the good films were from the NAFTI students. You understand? They were then supporting people like us who had no training. My first film was a film I did. I think my third film was edited by Samuel Nye.
Yeah, he's the new rector.
He's the new rector, and he was a first-year student, and he was editing it secretly. So, but today, ask how many students come from NAFTI and they are on the field.
Okay, so can we get a response to that?
If they happen to be on the field, I'm telling you, the quality of films will not be the same.
Why?
Because they are not filmmakers. Those who get
how do you get to that conclusion when they've gone through the training?
You see, going through a particular training is one thing, and having the passion for the thing is another. How do you get to NAFTI now? You only need the grades. In time past, you get recommendation. Do you understand?
Okay, so
anybody at all with that, because it's a university now.
Okay,
so
if you trying to make a point, do you get the?
Let me give you a typical example. I'm coming. Let me give you a typical example. I have my editor, the guy who has trained about 47 editors who are editing films now, decided to go to NAFTI. He got there and they said his maths grade is weak, so they can't take him. unless he
goes to rewrite the maths
yes.
and then makes the correct grades.
And I called the rector, then I told him, Master, this guy qualifies to even be a lecturer, to train your editors, because I see your editors when they come out, they come to my studio. And this is the guy who trained them again. He only needs a certificate for whatever reason, so just take him. He said, no, they are a university. Do you understand?
I appreciate the fact that you're not the registrar of the institution. So whichever level you want to get to in terms of the response is fine.
It's not just NAFTI. I mean, these days we have different disciplines in our country that find themselves in this situation. NAFTI used to be a diploma awarding school, and our diplomas were equivalent to diplomas from Europe. Now let me tell you the interesting part. You would finish a diploma from NAFTI and you'd want to enter probably the University of Ghana to do something, and you wouldn't be taken. You'll be asked to start all over again. You are not allowed to even do a master's. You'd have to start all over again. And of course, as an educational institution, of course, we started under the Germans and the Friedrich Ebert Foundation and all that, and then there was a certain autonomy, and then going under the University of Ghana. Of course, it will come at a price, you see. And in coming at, because there is something called the National Accreditation Board, and that for you to be a media arts school, a college or university, there are certain requirements. And so the basic is that you should have this, you should have that, you should have that. That doesn't mean that we still are not. I came to NAFTI under the degree program, but I've edited a lot of things. One of the films I've edited that made a lot of news in this town was Perfect Picture by Shirley Frimpong.
Oh, you edited Perfect Picture?
I did all her Miss Ghana series with her. I edited Life and Living It for her, Personality's Kitchen, all of that. Shirley was my classmate. Juliet Asante was my classmate. So it's, you know, but there's also, like any other, you know, situation, there are also certain generational things that happen. There are sometimes gaps. There are certain generations that are, you know, are really for something, and others to struggle.
Yeah.
We even as teachers have some issues with some of our students, not because they are not good enough. Once upon a time, NAFTI took people of a certain age, a certain caliber, a certain thinking. When I was coming to NAFTI as a student, I was 19, and I remember Mr. Men saying that he didn't think I was ready, but I said I was, because yes, probably I was different, and I wanted, and there were many of me like that.
You wanted to do film.
Yes, but today, you see, there are people who want to do film, but the distractions are many. Once upon a time, I couldn't own a camera. I didn't even own an editing shoot. But it's all so available today that there's a certain hurry, you know. So you are giving your best to your students. And when those who decide to take the best, when they come out, they do very well. And those who think that they want to get ahead of time, by the time they are out, crash. So probably that's also what it is. But it's not, I don't think that this is a blanket. He should put it into a blanket.
And he used
make
passion.
a blanket statement.
He used passion. Is it part of the requirements before you enter?
No.
That's not a reality show.
Even
in reality shows, when people say they have passion, by the time that the heat begins to get to them, you realize that they don't.
My
but
sister,
for every
let's call a spade a spade.
In the world,
that is the challenge.
For every discipline in the world, you need passion. You need passion to want to sit here and be a journalist. You need passion to be in medicine. You need passion to do everything.
So how do we get back? How do we get back? How do we get to the point where we want to get to? Because everybody is
totally
moving
about film education. I don't think it's because, listen, even when we had the most educated film, well-trained people doing film, our industry already had issues. I think that one of our issues is policy. Listen, Ramesh made Six Lovers of Melody. How far did the distribution go?
A lot.
It didn't go that far, Mr. Sarfo.
I distributed.
Yeah, but how far did it go? Beyond here and the rest of the...
How far? Beyond here?
No, today...
It could be...
Yes.
Outside the country as well. So in all sense.
Is that our
Isn't it our target?
Wow. My sister.
You want to just
our
stay here?
target is not for people elsewhere to see our movies.
What do you gain from that? One, it's a technical question. What do you gain from that?
What do you gain from people watching your film?
Yes.
As if our films traveling outside?
Outside, yeah.
For starters, one, aren't you marketing a cultural tool?
Good.
it doesn't become a cultural ambassador for you.
But don't you focus
Doesn't-
first at home, make sure that you get the distribution network wide here, then you think of outside.
But even
when
here,
Hollywood
Mr. Sarfo,
produce, they don't
Mr.
think
Sarfo,
of Africa.
Even
Let's
when
focus, else we will lose the focus. Let's focus on our people.
they don't
when we
focus on
film.
Africa. I'll
No.
tell you, they do focus here. When you go back to our archives and you start looking for how cinemas came up, cinemas were built here, they knew what they were doing. They knew why they were bringing things here. There were agendas, why cinemas were set, the trade. Even when you look in film history, Germany, Russia, and Co., there were certain points they were stopping Hollywood from coming into their countries because they didn't want Hollywood to overtake them. So Hollywood does not target just itself alone. Hollywood targets everybody.
So, but you want
And that
you
is
want
why
us to
America is in
concentrate
our
home
houses.
first.
Home
That's
first.
For how long can
and
we do that?
You see,
Remember, technology. It's not like
Mr. Sarfo,
technology has
what
halted.
use is it when African films still remain foreign on their own continents. Let me tell you, most of the films you're seeing on our televisions, let's say coming from Nigeria, that is not the total definition of Nigerian cinema. There's a lot more that happens. The same way we have certain classifications here. There's Hausa, there's Yoruba, and then there's the mainstream Igbo ones we see that is more popular with us. You know, so if we are not able to get all these things out.
Socrate, I'll let you end this one.
okay.
Yeah. So you're asking us to concentrate home first.
Yes, and that is the right way.
For how long can we
You see,
do that? Because we've been talking this way for a while now.
yeah, let's focus on what we want here. Let's feed our people. It will go outside by itself. Nigerian films didn't come here out of design. No. If I tell you the history, because I was part of it, from opera, you have people who bring these electrical parts, and you have the Nigerian community around Opera Square. They get their relatives to bring it down here. And then people start watching it around that area and start giving it for free, and the euphoria start growing. Then the marketers there start requesting for it and pirate it from Nigeria. That is how it comes in. I have distributed films outside before. I know what I'm talking
Mr.
about.
Sarfo, but
I
we're
was
doing a lot of
distributing.
marketing here. But even that, today is good you're here. I want to ask you, because even when we make films here, there's a feeling that there's some sort of a cartel when it comes to even marketing. Because I can make a
Yes.
film in January, I probably will start the marketing.
Yes,
there's an
it's true.
association will allow me to start selling probably in June, July, or probably
Yes.
even September.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. you
So
know,
there's a cartel.
Yes. And it's good for the industry.
Okay. So if the cartel
Without a
is
cartel,
good-
you see, we
If
are
the
where we
cartel-
are today because we decided to relax the cartel. Because the cartel
Really?
was controlling. Because any industry without a cartel cannot stand.
Do you agree?
Can
I
you
say
Google the word cartel probably so we know?
Whatever you call it.
I'm
You
not
see,
sure we
there's
have
difference
enough
between
time.
there's difference between producing and running an
if
industry.
It's really,
Yeah.
They are two different things. If you don't understand,
sadly-
you call it names. But if you understand, you will support it.
Okay,
I'm
sadly
telling
we
you.
have to wrap up. And I did ask a question whether we still watch Ghanaian movies. What's the name of the movie that you've seen? So I've got a few messages that I will share before we wrap up. I no longer watch Ghanaian movies because the contents are full of immorality in that the Gollywood and spiritism in that of Comerwood. Okay, Ben from Pando, I had to cut that short. This one says, every time I watch a Ghanaian movie, I end up doing reproducing, redirecting, continuity, reprops, etc. of that same movie while watching. In fact, I end up remaking the whole movie. That's why I choose the American TV series. That's from Michael in Brekum. Here's another one that says, I am not fan of Ghana movies simply because they are bad storylines, no originality, poor characters. Rabiu, who is a lecturer, sending this message from Asia. And this one says, I don't watch GH movies because there's too much nudity in it. Askanda in Tamale says so. And we've got to end it here. But the little knowledge, you know, sometimes it's just a few ones that we've seen, and it's kind of taken over our whole picture of Ghanaian movies. So they might not be the true representation of what it is today. But this is a conversation to be continued.
As usual.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, I say.
Well, let's focus home first.
We should home first.
Home first.
Okay. And then we will talk about the National Commission on Culture sometime soon. So get ready for that conversation.